if I can figure out a way to be enough, to get enough, that will just separate me from this pain and disappointment that I experience. It was almost as if I was running. I was running from the pain and disappointment, running from the pain in my story, and I was just filling it with all these things. Yeah, so every kind of notch in the ladder that I climbed kind of affirmed that I was successful and that I was getting away from it and that everything is great and I've really made it. And on the outside looking in, it was like, yeah, like Chris is killing it. He's just got it all somehow. And it was not true. I was so good at trying to be somebody that I wasn't, but I just kind of got to a point where it just wasn't enough. Through being cool, through being, the strong guy, through having fast cars and having toys, and that's just where I noticed a lot of my patterns started breaking down. It was just like somebody dropped an anvil on me and I couldn't get out from under it. I felt pretty busted early on in my life. It was just like somebody dropped an anvil on me and I couldn't get out from under it. My childhood was really marked by a lot of chaos. My first toddler years were spent in Hartsville, Alabama with my grandmother. We ended up getting kicked out of the house. My grandpa was actually an alcoholic, and one day he had been drinking too much and he found out that I had ridden the three-wheeler. He come raging through the house and he actually started beating my grandmother with a handgun, started beating her with the butt of it. And he comes through the other side of the house and I was standing there just probably as a 4-year-old, and she falls to the ground and my mom goes to stop my grandpa and she like grabs him, but as she grabs him, he points the gun at her and he pulls the trigger. But he was so drunk, the clip fell out onto the floor. And so in that moment, we ran out of the house, he got arrested. That's just the kind of chaos that really marked my childhood. Although we moved out, we really didn't escape a lot of the substance abuse patterns of everybody. With those kind of things, I was kind of left as a little boy to kind of come up with my own set of rules as to what did it mean to be a man or to be a young boy. I didn't know what to do with it. I would say sad now, but at the time I felt super anxious and super ashamed of something that was obviously not even my fault. I think I spent the rest of my life just trying to figure out, how do I produce value and significance? How do I manufacture that in such a way that I never have to be honest again, that I never have to be weak, that I never have to be vulnerable, like I don't ever have to engage that pain again. If I had to be the strongest in the room, I was the strongest. If I had to be the smartest in the room, I tried to be the smartest. And that's how I operated. Like all through high school, I remember if I can manufacture enough value with all these relationships and keep these people around, that will give me a sense of validation as a man and being known and loved and cared for. And, it worked until it didn't. I feel like those wanderings have led me to believe that I need more money, that I need more stuff, that I need more security. But I think those wanderings had led me to a place of just despair. I've noticed that chasing after those things have hurt my family in a lot of ways. It's caused me to miss my wife and miss my kids. It's caused me to not be present at home. And I think in the midst of that energy that I still remember, that same anxiety, that same insecurity, has caused me to act out in ways that aren't consistent. And I feel like God used that despair to lead me to a deeper conversation with Brandon. You know, me hearing about and being outside and being in creation, how actually more of that has become how he's been more satisfied in who he is. And so I think hearing the echo of that and really led me to something interesting, something wonderful, and something exciting.
Yeah, me and Chris are kind of a package deal. Because let's see, we did elementary school together. We did middle school and high school together. Then we went to college together.
Yeah.
We both end up in Birmingham after that with all of our families. We go to church together. It's crazy.
And I think it's something that's been significant, and I think for both of us.
You know, you were sharing about just what it, you know, kind of seeing me get outdoors and adventure and experience nature and things like that. And I don't know, man, I think the more that I do that, the more that I just see how much good it does my soul.
I think that's what, I don't know, I've been struck by with, as you kind of starting to realize like what it's like to live a life that's fully lived. And I think like for me, like that's calling me out.
What fly fishing has offered me is an adventure and an escape that is incredibly healthy and is good physically and mentally and spiritually, relationally. And I just see the way that it's been impactful for me. And I would just love to have you come along with me. I think you would really like it.
I would love to do that. I think it feels like a breath of fresh air.
The first adventure that I want to take you on is to try to catch a red-eye bass on a fly rod. You can catch them without a fly rod, but it's not nearly as much fun. The reason that I want to take you is because you're going to find these fun, mean, little honest fish that if you can find them, you can catch them. The thing that I love about fishing for red-eye bass is they only live in beautiful places. And so if you're going to pursue red-eye bass, you are by necessity going in to beautiful places in the nature and creation that we've been talking about. You're gonna bushwhack through the woods, you're gonna get some poison ivy, it's gonna be kind of a mess.
Might see a few snakes.
And you know how I feel about snakes, but it's worth it. If I had to take somebody who's never fly fished before, show them just a picture of what the experience is like in a way where they can actually be successful and actually catch some fish, man, this is totally the way to do it. They're like, people call them the Alabama brook trout. They're these beautiful, colorful fish living in small streams, in tight quarters, in the mountains, but you can catch them in Alabama. Here's the thing, man, I love fly fishing for red-eye bass. Let's just go and see what you think about it. And maybe you love it, maybe you don't, but I'm convinced that if we can just build this rhythm of you spending time outside of the house, in creation, in nature, that we're gonna find an adventure that resonates with you just like fly fishing has resonated with me.
So, you gonna teach me how to fly fish today?
It's gonna be like the blind leading the blind, man.
Well,
but I'm all you got. I'm all you got.
That's right, you are my lifeline. So I'm fired up. You wanna?
Yeah. It's a huge pain when you get your fly tied on.
So this is a little North Alabama silliness, but why is this so like, we're looking at this green, like why is this all, this ain't like, 10-pound string, that I buy from Walmart?
This is nothing at all like that. Everything that you know about fishing with a spinning rod, you just need to forget that.
Okay.
There's nothing like that.
I can do it.
You want to give it a try?
No, yeah, I'll give it a spin.
And just remember to hang on to your line the whole time.
All right.
And you're kind of doing this.
So keep it more straight.
If you do it like this, you're going to spill the beer.
I gotcha.
So abrupt stop, go. Yeah, you're doing good, man. You're getting it though. It's complicated. Just remember, you can't throw it hard enough to make that line go.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to muscle your way through it.
Yeah. Brandon, I have a meathead analogy.
Okay.
Let me sub in. All right, so I know you work out. We share that little bond of the cult of working out. All right, so you know when you do a snatch or a clean, right? Slow off the floor, and then you want to build pace as you go up until it's really fast and then stop at the top. That's a flat rod. So when I want to cast here, I don't want to start really quick here.
Yeah.
I want to go slow, fast, stop. And do you see how fast that line jumps off? Then all I have to do is just punch forward. The back pass is where all the art is. It's slow, fast, fast, stop, and push out. Hard stop, and then you just get to punch forward and the whole thing unfolds. Do that a couple more times. Nice. Perfect. And Ricardo. There you go. Okay, did you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Pull the line out. All right, I think that's a victory for a day.
Yeah.
We got some line to go out.
And I think the more and more I've seen the mess that I've gotten myself into over chasing, zeros in a bank account or chasing success or the next position or the next whatever it is. Like I'm struck by how empty I'm left, but I'm struck also by how unsatisfied and more anxious and more fearful that I've become in that. And so, I don't know, hearing you share, like, I don't want to be limited to my own smaller story, because I've just noticed when I am, it's not a very big story, and it's not a very good one. And actually it doesn't offer anything. It just takes, and it takes from me. And so no, thanks for inviting me into that. And it's funny because it's like the only way that I'm invited into that is, I guess it's been Rector's song, right? Like, there's nothing like old friends.
You've been so willing to share your story, and I'm just thankful for that. I think it challenges me to also be vulnerable in ways that I'm not always comfortable doing. And there's been so many areas of my life where, I don't know, I felt really shut down and like I didn't have what it took and that I couldn't move forward. And there's been multiple areas where you've really helped call me out of that, and you were sharing about just what it, kind of seeing me get outdoors and adventure and experience nature and things like that. And I don't know, man, I think the more that I do that, the more that I just see how much good it does my soul. It's hard for me to articulate just how much good it does me, but I can tell you, I think I'm a lot healthier guy when I'm making time to get out and do that stuff. So.
No, I agree. I think one of the things that strikes me about where you are right now is, how being connected to God in these activities and being outside and fishing. But I think even in exercising that part of who you are has allowed you to be more present. And I think, like, for me, like, that's calling me out. Ways I'm tempted to just, that's too much. I'm just going to kind of resort back to what's safe. It's just going to be doom scrolling, Yeah, I'm just struck by how that's allowed you, although it seems counterintuitive, to be more present to the things that are significant. Yeah. And that do matter.
Yeah, it's like when I have an outlet for that desire for nature and adventure, I have a place to take that other than I don't have to take it to work. I don't need work to completely fulfill me because I have this other place where I can take some of that. what fly fishing has done has really just been an excuse to get out in nature and escape in a way that is extraordinarily healthy, not unhealthy. There's all these distractions. It's so tempting to just pick up my phone and doom scroll or whatever that is not healthy. And I think that what fly fishing has offered me is an adventure and an escape that is incredibly healthy and is good physically and mentally and spiritually, relationally. I mean, I've met some of my best friends in the world through fly fishing. And all that has just been incredibly powerful for me.
You know what's funny is you mentioned that. One of the things that strikes me about one of the things that you commonly say, whether it's about unhealthy patterns or sin or whatever, is the idea of like sometimes we just have to stop the bleeding. And it's funny because it's like this is not unhealthy, this is extremely healthy. And it's like I can see when life is hard and the pressure is on and we're not sleeping and we're not getting the things that we should be getting, you know, like if this is where we go, like sometimes that just helps stop the bleeding, you know. Or that's just what I'm hearing you say is like, yeah, like I don't have to turn to my phone, I don't have to turn to YouTube or other things. I can go here, and I know that you know, kind of, it just helps. Yeah.
And I'm just so prone to live in my own head all the time, and just my thoughts are racing and just standing in a creek and trying to trick some red-eye bass and eating my fly. It's just, I don't think about all that stuff. Like I'm actually in the moment. I'm actually thinking about where I am and what I'm doing. And I'm not worried about all the plates that are spinning in the background. And usually you need some sort of chemical to make that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And with this, it's just not that way.
No, thank you for inviting me into that, and thank you for being willing to share.
There, I kind of wanted to take the opportunity to teach you how to tie a leader on and things like that, but it's so stinking hot. I just kind of wanted to get in the shade and get in the water, but
No, I think that's more suited to do in your garage when we're not sweating.
yeah, it's like while we're out here, let's try to catch some fish and get to the water. So
For sure.
But yeah, I think it'll be good. This is a good creek to fish for red eye. I mean, I've fished here a time or two, not a ton, but I have been able to pull fish out of here when I have. And there's also just a lot of good scenery. Like there's some waterfalls, there's some canyons. Water looks low and clear, so sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing, but we'll see how it does, man. So, but I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, same. Feels pretty surreal to finally kind of be getting out and actually doing some of this.
I see one. I see some right over there. Can you see him over there?
Oh yeah, he's swimming upstream there. Yeah.
We can go ahead and get your rod ready to go. And so I'll just kind of take it and show you here. We got a little yellow popper on here. So what I would do is stand right around here, and you just want to put the fly over there. Like you see where those leaves are kind of circled up?
That's kind of where they're
That's about where I would try to put it.
Yeah.
And we'll just see
and you want
how
me
it
to
goes.
just get in the middle of the water here?
Mm-hmm.
But it's all open space back there. So, have you been practicing?
Whatever practice you can consider with 3 kids under 6 in the front yard. So, kind of, yes. Kind of. Oh.
All right, just try it again. There you go. And why don't you move up to about right here
Okay.
and try it again.
All right.
There's literally a little tiny baby one right there.
Oh, great.
There you go.
Oh.
All right, don't heck on it.
Oh, great. Got this, All right, so here goes nothing.
I would try to just work my way, like just kind of cast, let it sit for a minute, walk up, cast, let it sit for a minute, walk up, and just kind of work that pool. And then just keep casting and moving.
Oh,
there's one looking at it. Give it just a little twitch. You got it.
Oh. Oh.
Get it out there again. Get it out there again.
Oh, well,
she may come back for it, so just.
Oh.
All right, hang on.
That's fine. I mean, you have to blow it up.
They were definitely in here, though. That's good. But so, Chris, one of the things about red-eye bass is they're little, but they're still like any other bass in the sense that they're really going to hang out close to structure, and also simple things like shadows. And so if you're if there's a pool and there's a big shadow in the middle of it, I like to throw right at the edge of those shadows, because a lot of times maybe they like being in the light or maybe they like being in the dark, but either way, that transitional space is a good place for a bass to be. And all this is a good place for a copperhead to be.
No, I was thinking the same exact thing. I'm trying to hear you, but I'm also like watching my feet.
Oh, this is a good looking little hole down here. You just want to make as little wake as possible. Like just kind of shuffle your feet. Do you know how to shoot line?
Yes. Is that the answer? There's a snake across the wall, copperhead.
Try it again. Over there closer to where the snake went. So just take your time, get yourself all untangled. Get to a point where your line is basically at your feet. Oh.
Come on. I saw that big bodied one.
Oh, there's one right next to it looking at it. Pop it. Give it a pop. Give it a pop. Give it a pop.
Oh. Trying to get my cast to go further, but.
Well, it's not going to go any further because you don't have any more line out.
All right, man.
It's only going to go as far as you got line out.
Ooh. All right, let's try it again then.
But look, hang on, let me show you.
Hang on.
Okay. Just keep doing it your way.
I know.
It would have been cool to do that while there was fish there. Okay. Do you want to just keep doing that over and over again, or?
I just keep thinking.
What are you thinking?
You got to believe. All right. Well, I ain't getting it any further.
Okay. Yeah. The good thing is they're out here, and they're usually willing to eat if you can find them. So.
Unless they want to disrespect you, like they did a little bit today.
But yeah, so how are you as we're kind of going into this first adventure?
It's a great question, because what's funny is, I think last night, Emily asked me, my wife that is, she asked me, she said, so I feel really confused. I was like, confused about what? Like, she's like, well, it sounds like you're going fishing and doing all these things, but like, what's the point? Like, what are y'all, like, I see several things, but like, what's going on? And I said, it's funny because as many conversations as we've had over finances and how I've been lost in that, making a lot of, decisions that aren't, part of who I want to be. Like, I went from participating in these behaviors to, like, now I have landed myself in a stream fly fishing. And not only that, I was like, I find it interesting that I'm also doing it with a bunch of friends. And I said, you know what, like, I don't know what all God is doing, but I think it's funny because I wouldn't have written the story that way.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so surreal. So I'm kind of just in a place of like, what is it like to receive that?
Yeah.
You know, and I have a really hard time receiving it.
I do too. It feels like such a huge gift to be able to get out here and do stuff like this, you know? I mean, this is just Alabama. And like you said, we've got all these crazy epic adventures on the calendar.
That were not on the calendar.
I mean,
That were not on the calendar.
I was literally reading about the Kenai Peninsula in a book the other night that was talking about how wild the world is, you know?
And you're
then,
like, well,
yeah,
you know, like that's a different kind of experience. And so,
yeah, it's just absolutely insane. Keep on trucking. All right, try to get it roll casted over there. Yeah.
Keep that, dude. That is a good, that's a good pop. Come on, fish. Don't give it to him. Yes, you got it, you got it. Reel it in. Pull the line, pull the line, pull the line. Pull the line, pull the line. Keep tension on the line. How you do it? How you do it? Pull it. Just pull it. Pulling it. Pull it like that. Pull it. What it is. That's red eye, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
let's go. Oh man, look at that 10-inch all-star.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Dude.
Congrats, man. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, shoot. Got away.
Dude, heck yeah. Got your first red eye.
Oh, and it was a pretty fish too.
Yeah.
At that.
So thanks for letting me share it with you and coming out here and doing it.
Yeah.
It's a new thing and I appreciate you going with it. So,
Oh yeah, fired up.
yeah, and we got another adventure coming up. Next stop,
Yeah.
Kentucky, right?
That's right. You know, I took a chance to come out, and now I'm headed to Kentucky. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you know, we'll be in the same boat on that one because I've never caught a trout on a fly rod either.
Oh,
So
yeah. So
that's gonna be first for both of us.
let's do it.
All right, let's go.
I think that's what I've been struck by. You kind of starting to realize like what it's like to live a life that's fully lived. And I think for me, that's calling me out.
My own heart is so prone to look for an escape somewhere. And if I'm not careful, I can escape in really unhealthy ways. And I think what fly fishing has done is really just been an excuse to get out in nature and escape in a way that is extraordinarily healthy, not unhealthy. There's all these distractions. It's so tempting to just pick up my phone and doom scroll or whatever that is not healthy. And I think that what fly fishing has offered me is an adventure and an escape that is incredibly healthy and is good physically and mentally and spiritually,
Yeah.
relationally. Oh, shoot. I mean, I've met some of my best friends in the world through fly fishing. And I enjoy it. I mean, God could have created the world in any way that he wanted to, but he made it beautiful. It's like he made music. Like, why did he have to make music? Just because it's beautiful. And it's intrinsically valuable thing. And I think that the outdoors and getting out in creation is the same. It's intrinsically valuable. I don't know, man. I was excited after the red-eye trip and all of our pursuits to try to catch a red-eye bass for you to be able to get out and catch your first trout in Kentucky. And but the funny thing about that was I felt like the whole time you're kind of asking me, hey, what's gonna happen? What do we expect here? What's this gonna be like? And the reality was I had never caught a trout on a fly rod until Kentucky either. Oh, no. Like it had just always been bass fishing for me. So it was cool for me to get up there and just learn a little bit about trout fishing. Yeah.
When we go do trips like this, it's always you're wrestling in this tension of, am I doing enough as a dad, but also getting to fish and do things, like so with my friends, and am I helping out where I should be helping out, or am I getting off scotch-free and just fishing, like with friends? So just longing to be in the middle of that tension. I think that's what I was trying to communicate to the girls, on the way there, was like, I want you to be aware of what we're going to experience this weekend. Like, it's going to be a very beautiful place. You're going to be with your friends, people you love, people you see at the church. And I think that's always been my heart too, is, you have people that you do life with, and you hope that those become your deepest relationships and some friendships, and I know that's one thing that you and I are pretty passionate about, is just deep friendship. We're going from wading these creeks that are, not that wide, you can hit a couple casts, hit both sides and keep walking, to now being in a boat, and then figuring out what it's like to cast in that environment, because it's a different setup.
But yeah, I was really looking forward to that trip, and I was so excited. I didn't sleep at all the night before. I mean, I was just pumped to be able to get out there and just have this new experience, so I was stoked. And we were staying about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours away from where we were meeting the guides to go fishing. So we got up early that morning, and I drove us out there. We get to the boat ramp, we kind of get out and introduce ourselves to the guides. And I got out of the truck and I just thought, man, I don't feel so good, and I didn't know exactly what was going on, but and I thought, I'm about to pass out if I don't sit down. And long story short, had to take a trip to the ER, and it turns out my potassium was really low, and thank goodness it wasn't anything more serious.
Documenting. This is the vibe, this is the dorsal vibe.
But yeah, I did not get to go fishing that day.
Get to do this right now. Walking out of the ER in Burkesville, Kentucky.
Fun.
Look who I got, Kyle. I know him.
Yeah, it really sucked. I mean, one of the hardest things for me was knowing that, well, Kyle was sitting there in the hospital room with me the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I know Ben was in the waiting room, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, like, these guys spent money to get here, taking time off work, made this trip, and I've just totally ruined 1 out of 2 days that we had with these guides, But I'll tell you though, man, it was so special to me just how everybody responded. I mean, one of the guides actually, even pulling a boat and everything, led the way to the hospital, and that way Ben and Kyle didn't have to think about where it was or anything like that. So the guides literally took us to where I needed to be to get some help and all that sort of thing, but just felt really surrounded and supported by literally everybody that was there, and I was super thankful for that. But it did kind of put the pressure on for the next day. It's like, okay, we only got one day, so we really got to make the most of it. We probably went 30 minutes or so upriver and just got to fishing. And so I was fishing with Tick, and he was teaching me a lot, because I'd never fly fished for trout out of a drift boat or anything, you know. And so he was teaching me a lot about mending line and things like that, and you know, how far off the bank to have the fly and how to get a good drift with the fly compared to the, you know, while standing in a drift boat versus standing on the bank. I missed one really good brown trout. I saw the orange come up from the depths and head towards this fly, and I just yanked it out of his mouth. Like, we'd been fishing for an hour and a half and I hadn't caught anything, and I really wanted to fish, you know. I saw it coming up and just didn't. I just pulled the hook, the fly right out of its mouth. It never had a chance to take my fly. So we fished a little bit longer, and then he tied up a dropper rig. And not long after that, man, hooked into a nice little rainbow trout.
Strip, 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 strip. Little guy, it's all right. Little guy, it's all right.
Hey, I'll take any guy.
See how hard you gotta strip.
Yep.
Sally's no water done. First time I tried them. First time I did. Where are you going? Give me the Statue of Liberty.
Get out of your way here.
Hey! There we go.
All right. Here we go. And was really at least as an adult, my first trout on a fly rod, which felt pretty cool, you know. So it was nice to get hooked up with a fish and have a fish in the net after the day that I'd had before, and it being my first trout on a fly rod. You know, that was just a cool moment.
What's so surreal for me in this is, you know, you're thinking like, wow, this is my first guided trip, you know, fishing for trout. I'm thinking like, dude, I just want to catch a fish. You know, like, if this is a spinning rod, fly rod, if this is this versus that, like, I'm not even thinking about any of that. I just need to get that fish in the boat. Yeah. However they're telling me to do it. I don't know. So I literally started, you know, this journey in Talladega Creek, you know, 2 weeks prior. And then a week before that, I was casting in the front yard, you know, like just trying to figure out how to get the fly in the water.
I got one guy that's never been in the water with a fly rod, and you.
And I'm not much better than the guy that hasn't been in the water with a fly rod. I actually got on a pretty good rhythm. I caught probably 4 or 5 trout, but I did catch a trout, and I mean, I was excited about that, but I was also thinking like, what's this brown trout about? You know, like people talk about like the brown trout's this bigger fish, like which I think did set us up in an interesting way because we end.
We had been fishing really hard all day, and I had caught that little rainbow, you had caught some rainbows, but you know, we were all kind of scratching our heads in terms of where are the fish. I was filming, so I was in a different boat from you and Kyle, and I remember that moment where he hooked up. Man, the energy level just shoots up. All the guides are stoked. We're stoked. You can tell a really good fish is on.
And we're gonna drift down to him. You just keep pressure on it.
The battery cable comes unhooked from my camera. And so Ben is sitting there with his camera, and he's obviously a pro filming this thing, and I've got my camera. I'm like, Ben, the camera's not working, the camera's not working. And Kyle has this monster brown trout on, and so he's fighting the fish. Tick's telling him what to do. You're trying to get your line out and your rod out of the way and all that. The fish is going nuts. I'm sitting here with my camera, and it's totally crapped the bed on me and is not working. And it was my fault, not the camera's fault. I jerked the cord out of it. And then Ben, like a pro, was like holding his camera with one hand and fixing my camera with the other hand. And that was about the longest 30 seconds of my life, it felt like.
Yeah!
Woo!
But it was so cool, man. I mean, Kyle did a great job with fighting that fish and getting it to the boat and all that sort of thing. And it was just such a special moment to be able to see him catch that. And I knew it was a good fish when, before they released it, the guide wanted to measure it. It's like, okay, that's how you know it's a good fish. If it wasn't, he would have just, that was a really special moment, seeing Kyle hook up on that fish. And that totally made the day.
Oh,
I mean,
we end the day, you know, with a massive fish. You know, obviously we didn't catch it, but we ended the day in a fish that, if we would have just caught that fish the entire trip, that one fish, it would have been, all this would have been worth it. All of the hospital stays, you know, I don't know. I was pretty proud of that, even though, like, obviously, I just think that was a good note to end on. Yeah. It was funny because at some point you had, you're like, hey man, there's this blue line that runs through down here at the end of this another gravel road in the middle of all these, you know, double wide trailers. There's another blue line. We need to go check it out.
Quick before they notice.
but yeah, I feel like it's now or never, man. Like the kids are down for a nap. And I know we're supposed to be trout fishing, but I was looking at this smallmouth stream. As soon as we planned the trip, I started looking at blue lines on the map and all that sort of thing. And I saw this little creek, and I have just, the kids are down for a nap, the storm's rolling in. I figure we probably got 1 or 2 hours at the most, and I just can't be this close to a pretty smallmouth stream without getting the trout.
Oh man, there's rocks, there's structure, there's water that's deep enough to hold fish. I don't know what's there, but we need to fish it. It's like, okay, let's figure out a way to get down there.
I know we were there to catch trout, but I just couldn't be staying by a smallmouth stream like that and not at least give it a try, you know?
Yeah.
I just had to.
Funny thing was we had some sickness go through the house too prior to that event. So you've got, Kyle that's okay, obviously, but then you got Ben that's like now in the ditch because kid had stomach virus or whatever virus that makes kids throw up, you can call it stomach, whatever. But then Ben's now, sick, and we're both like, how do we manipulate Ben into getting out of the bed and potentially catch fish?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what happened. Yeah. And we did. And, and
Yeah, buddy.
land the fish.
So you caught your first smallmouth on a fly rod on that trip.
Yeah.
Your first rainbow trout too
Yeah.
on that trip.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, though, you land a fish.
Yeah. I was fired up about it, man. Like I definitely had a good time with the guides trout fishing. But for me, and just finding a little blue line on a map like that and exploring a new stream with no guide, just figuring it out on your own, having no idea what's gonna be in there. Man, even though the smallmouth were like, I don't know, not even a foot long, those were my favorite fish that we caught of the whole trip. Pretty weather, and then it just started pouring down rain on us, and we just kept on fishing. We kind of hid under a tree to let the lightning go by, and then
Yeah, I remember being coached up not to hold my rod tip in there when it was a lightning storm.
yeah, it's like probably not a good idea to be standing in the water with a 9-foot pole.
Put your rod tip down. And I'm like, bro, you're fine. I don't know, man. I think one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is how not to skip the journey and just go to the results. Like how to not skip the journey and just go to, well, this is the end that I'm longing for. Just even as the man that I hope to become. Like just being so quick to judge the man I become by the circumstances that I'm enduring at that time. And I think one of the things that God has just been working in me, and one of the things that even my wife picked up from the trip, was just true wealth and true significance really comes from doing things with people that you love and doing them in deep friendship. And it's in the being, in the sense of being present where we were in the stream, being present in the weekend that we were in, being present rather than being distracted, that I'm just able to receive the gift of friendship for what it is. That's one thing that this journey that I'm on, like I've just been called back to doing things in community with people that I love, like be where my feet are, and that's where I'm at, is in that weekend with you guys, doing things that aren't padding my bank account, doing things, it feels sobering. So
We just both left wanting to do more things like that. Kind of asking the question of why haven't we done more stuff like this already, like going on trips and adventures with our families. And I was just thinking, man, like this is what life is really about, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's not about how much money was spent on the Airbnb or what zip code we were in or anything like that. It's about who we were with. I'm just looking forward to trying to receive that with the next trip that we have coming up with going to Alaska and what that's going to be like.
And you know what I think the secret sauce in that is? A lot of men don't know what fills up their tank. I think they don't know what fills it up. And I think also they're not willing to pay the price for what it takes to figure that out. I think it's a lot easier, a lot safer to chase the smaller story. I think it's a lot easier to worry about other things than worrying about what fills up my gas tank, what helps me become the man God's created me to be, but also what does it look like to me be a better husband, a better father. I think a lot of men just don't know.
It's like living out in suburbia, working some job that you don't even like, just so you can continue living out in suburbia, and that just being the whole life. I just know multiple guys that they don't do anything at all that is exhilarating or that fills their tank or that feels like an adventure. But I know a lot of people that don't have to do that, but do it anyway, just motivated by fear and comfort. I would rather do some of the things that I'm a little bit afraid to do, that I'm a little bit anxious about, but look back at my life and not have a lot of things that I regret.
There may be all kinds of fear here and other reasons why not to go do this, but I think this is one of the #1 reasons why I should go do it.
But even when Ben asked me about it initially, I think my knee-jerk reaction was actually to say no, which is crazy, but that feeling was there. And I'm sure that that's what a lot of people experience.
And I think Alaska is somewhat of an Ebenezer in some ways to say that this kind of stuff like really matters and really cultivates more of my identity of who I really am as a man. Flying in on a red eye was pretty wild for me. I have not ever done that in my entire life. Getting into an airport at 4 a.m. and just figuring it out. I was not prepared for that.
Rock and roll.
I look at Ben, he's sleeping on the floor. I look at you, you're in a bench that doesn't fit. I'm looking at Kyle, and he's just kind of being Kyle. He falls where he falls. And so it's just kind of funny because I'm going into the wilderness, but I'm looking for a place of comfort. And I find it interesting that that's the place that I go.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, I want to go on an adventure to a wild place. It's another thing to actually get on the plane and go on the adventure to the wild place.
When the primal senses are kicking in, like, where do I go?
Yeah.
And it's not far from the psalmist, you know, like when the primal sense of safety and insecurity and control kick in, you always see David, you know, lamenting or crying out or running to what he thinks is going to give him those things,
Yeah.
and it doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I come into the trip, thinking, you know, what I'm about to receive, what I'm about to do. I think for me, it was a lot of mystery, a very wild place, the unknown a little bit. As we board this plane to Kenai, I think we're all snickering, including our great captain, about the safety orientation that we got on the plane before he just took off. And I looked down and figured out that I was over water, you know.
It's like, yeah, the survival equipment is in the back.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
What survival equipment? I think the flight was like 30 minutes from Anchorage to Kenai in the dark. I was a little bit bummed about that because I was hoping that we'd be able to see more of the scenery, but little did I know we would get plenty of time in the air to see the scenery. But yeah, we landed in Kenai, and then all I remember was trying to figure out what the heck was going on and where the heck we were supposed to go. I mean, we had to rent a car. We didn't know what rentals were gonna be available. It's not like there's a ton of options in small town Alaska.
We're taking these unnamed roads for a while. I feel like I'm in the back seat, so I can't see anything. Then we end up at the guide house. Super great cabin. Got a lot of dudes that know how to fish except us. And we're asking, hey, teach us about steelhead.
The boat isn't very big. I mean, it's little. Say for a 30 to 35 inch fish, it's not very big.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I almost still think of it as if you were to throw a little dry fly for 18, 20 inch brown trout or anything else. They'll still pull out easy, but go ahead, hang on to that. So, when that bobber goes down, go ahead, give me a set.
Yeah.
Yep, set the hook. So you're right there, right?
Yeah.
So let a little bit more line out off your reel. Perfect, right there. All right, so go ahead, pull the rod up a little bit. That fish sometimes, as soon as you hook him, he's gonna be like this, then he'll come straight back at you.
Okay.
It'll be that fast.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to have that hand on that line. As soon as you set the hook, you want your hand right here, ready to go. So like I said, he's gonna be here, rod tip up, he's gonna be running, and then he's gonna come straight back at you. You're gonna have to strip, and then he's gonna go back again, start jumping, and doing his thing. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember one of the guys was asking us, you know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I was like, bro, I don't know the first thing about steelhead fishing. All I know is that they're incredibly hard to catch and they live in cold water. Like, that's it. And then this guy kind of bumbles down the steps. And I didn't know who he was. He had a big beard, he had a t-shirt on that said, I am the liquor. And it was Justin Miller.
See the teal on that one? Yeah. They're fucking beautiful in this river.
And me being the bass fisherman that I am, like, I just didn't realize who he was and all the incredible steelhead fishing that he's done. Turns out Yeti has made a film about him that has like 250,000 views and all this stuff. And dude is a big deal when it comes to steelhead fishing. And it turns out he was gonna be our guide for like 3 or 4 days while we were there.
Dude, he just ran you into that grass, just turned, and yeah.
One of the things he was talking about was just how important it is to listen to the guides. And he was basically saying, look, if you'll go out there and just do what we're telling you to do, we can put you guys on some fish. And the thing I had to learn is that with a lot of the fishing that we were doing, it wasn't about making a 60-foot cast with a double haul. It was about putting it right there, right now, 10 yards from the boat. Yeah. Exactly where the guide was telling me to. It was just a lot different ball game than what I've done in the past.
And mending the line, bro. Mend the line. Anytime you're casting, mend the line.
Yeah.
And you're never not gonna hear him say, mend the line.
Yeah.
Nice. Before we're getting on the boat with this guy, and Ben and all his camera equipment, it's us, and he looks at all of us, and Ben's like, you know, telling him, hey, when we catch fish, we don't need you to throw them back, we just need to get some film footage. And Justin looks up at me and says, bro, you realize we're fishing for steelhead, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? If you catch them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was kind of where I was called to more with my opinion of steelhead. Was like, okay, maybe we're not guaranteed to catch them.
So we're not gonna catch 20 fish today, is what you're saying.
My plan was to catch 20 steelhead. And that did not happen.
You know, we show up for that first day of fishing, we're with Justin, and we haven't slept, man.
Fresh off the concrete floor.
I did not know the first thing about steelhead fishing, first of all. And then also, I mean, I was going on like 3 brain cells all day. And so Justin was doing an awesome job coaching us up on, you know, cast here, mend this way, you know, here's what you need to do to get on fish. And it was like information overload. I mean, I was really struggling to keep up with everything that he was telling us to do, even though it was exactly what we needed to be doing.
And I'm constantly reminded of that every time I cast. He's like, cast, and I'm trying.
Yeah.
Mend the line.
Yeah.
Which way, bro? You know, like, and so I felt like, you know, it was constant machine gunning, but that's how you do that.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we're at this stretch of the river, hit it right there, right now, boom, go.
This is where fish are.
And I think Justin was saying it was like machine gun fishing, like just boom, 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 put it right there, right now.
Right. And anytime, you know, you felt that your rod was getting some, you know, motion, you know, some, you know, felt like something was, whether it was a rock, whatever, you know, you're constantly like, oh, is this a fish?
Yeah. Yeah, hook sets are free.
Yeah. Also, you know, these fish, they're not eating your lure because they're hungry. They're eating it because they're mad. So there's a set point where you have to be on, otherwise you don't get the fish.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was a grind. I mean, that first section in that afternoon, I feel like it was probably 4 hours or so.
That's a long time.
And just boom, 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 boom. And then, I mean, the thing about it that was super helpful is Justin and the other guys were just super committed to helping us catch a fish, you know? And so we floated that section, take the boats out, go to another section, and then float it. And I mean, I think we were on the water till 8:30 or 8:45 at night.
Easily.
I mean, it was basically until we just ran out of daylight, and that's when we quit fishing. I feel like day one is where my appreciation for those fish really came about. I mean, honestly, going to Alaska, man, I probably watched more videos about how to stay away from brown bears than I did how to catch steelhead, if I'm just being totally honest. And I just didn't know a whole lot about him getting there. But him just explaining the life cycle, and I mean, basically anything you want to know about steelhead, Justin Miller can tell you. It was so cool just learning more about that species of fish. I ended day one realizing that this is an incredible fish that I want to catch, and it's not going to be easy, and it's going to take some work. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the coolest things about being out there with Alaska Steelhead Company was just that they have a helicopter and a pilot on site that they have complete use of. Man, I remember that first day that we got on the helicopter and we went out to Narnia, which is what, you know, what they were calling this just kind of wild place that they hadn't even taken a whole lot of people yet.
Yeah.
And man, just
just being able to fly out there, it was just breathtaking.
So this is an R66 turbine model helicopter. It's a 4-passenger, 1-pilot seat. If you want to come over this way, I'm going to show you how to open these doors. You have to twist this knob back in or the Venturi effect will kind of suck it closed. We're all going to be wearing life jackets today because we're flying over the ocean.
No, Brandon wanted to bring one, and I was like, you don't need a check bag, but he's like, but I really want to bring a gun.
Is there anything loaded in that?
Brandon's like, I'm all right, guys. We got this. They only have, what, 5 chances?
Hey, Bear!
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Yeah, just very surreal.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was cool that we were able to go out there without a guide and just kind of, it was just us and the pilot.
Yeah.
And kind of go out there on our own.
And it happened to be home to a bear viewing lodge. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. And what did we see? Like 3 or 4 brown bears?
Yeah, chilling.
remember.
Yeah, chilling on the edge of this like lake that was formed from a glacier, right?
Yeah.
A glacier that was just right up the mountain that you could see. So yeah, very wild place because
Yeah.
you've got glacier, you've got lake, and then you've got river
Mm-hmm.
where you're fishing.
Yeah.
So obvious that there's bears.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the funny things about that, as worried as we were about encountering bears, we mess around and hang a silver.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You got him. Very nice.
We're like, you know what? We've been fishing, we've been trying to catch fish, you know, hadn't had a ton of luck. Start self-guiding ourselves, and Ben lands, you know, a silver.
That day really felt like an adventure to me. I mean, even the helicopter ride was cool. Us all loading up, it's just us and the pilot and flying over to this place. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I've never had the opportunity to do anything like that before, and to experience it was just really, really special. And for the first half of it, I had my phone out the whole time trying to take pictures and things like that. And then I realized that there's no way that I could capture any of it anyway, and so I might as well just enjoy it.
I mean, and that's what I was, you know, confronted with, was the fact that there's such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I want to take as much footage as possible, but I literally couldn't summarize it.
Yeah.
Like waterfalls, blueberry bushes, glaciers, mountains, I mean, lakes.
Yeah. That's then feeding into the rivers and creeks that are then going out into the ocean, and it was just
And the fact that
breathtaking.
freaking steelhead, you know, like this freaking fish is going to come up,
Yeah.
you know, from the Pacific back into the river. I think the most surreal thing that happened on this trip that most people knowing our story probably wouldn't be surprised by.
Yeah.
But I think I am surprised by, again, like I probably shouldn't be, but I am, is the fact that what would happen on this small, unlikely creek, yeah, would be the best part of the trip.
The guides took us out to a creek that they fish a lot and have gotten some good results from. And that was the one, it's kind of a toss-up for me between the helicopter ride out to, you know, what they were calling Narnia versus that trip that morning in terms of what felt the most like what I was expecting in Alaska. You know, we hiked in and kind of go down into this ravine, and there's thick brush everywhere, and we're basically walking on game trails to get to the different fishing spots that we were going to. And you know, it was a really cool place, and it kind of, for me, it felt like going back to our roots a little bit because it was a small creek and a small place. It just felt a little bit more like the places that we fish back home. But obviously, you've got this majestic beauty in Alaska that you just don't have anywhere else in the world.
But you know, we had the first good day of just terrible weather.
It was rainy, it was cold.
Right, it's rainy.
That was the first day where me and you were both like, bro, I'm kind of cold.
Yeah, I'm kind of cold. I can't stay dry. And
we started fishing. One of the guys kind of got you set up in one spot, and then I went probably, I don't know, 100 feet downstream, something like that, and they got me working a different hole. And I mean, I probably hadn't been fishing for 5 minutes, and I hooked up on something.
Okay.
Here we go.
Huh? Yeah. She doesn't even know it's hooked yet.
Fish on! Woo! Okay. But yeah, so we're sitting there in a foot of water with this massive fish that's been living in salt water for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and he's acting like it. I mean, he's flying through that creek. And honestly, my first thought was, don't mess it up. You know, like, we've been working hard. We've been working so hard to try to get hooked up on one of these fish. I was like, okay, don't freak out, Brandon.
Right.
Like, just do what they've been telling you to do.
Do I need to put any more pressure on her, or just, okay, just keep it?
And
yeah.
So that's what I was doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I was working it, and the guys were giving me feedback like, yeah, you're doing exactly what you needed to be doing. Keep doing that, you know.
keep tension on it.
Yeah, keep tension on the line, all this sort of thing. So I'm sitting there, and I've got this fish hooked up, and we're getting really close to getting it in the net. And the guy, Cody, starts walking out there with the net, and he's about to try to net my fish. And then
upstream, I hear you guys freaking out. And at first I thought, yeah, they're just freaking out because we're about to net this fish.
Let him run. Yep, let him run. Yep, hands off the reel.
But then I turn around and I look, and you're hooked up with a
Let him
fish
run?
too. Like your rod is just like bent over. I thought you were gonna break it.
Yeah, buddy! Woo!
I thought, holy smokes, like we're doubled up on steelhead right now.
Let's go! Man, he took off. Keep reeling while he's chilling. So let him just kind of chill.
Let you know she's hooked.
Oh, okay. Damn, he's like a submarine. So just keep holding.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Dude. You know, for them to say these fish are unlike any other fish is a very accurate statement.
Damn!
And again, I'm not an expert fly fisherman, but when I hang something and it completely strips the line from my reel and busts my fingernail in the process,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, your fingers are bleeding.
Yeah, there's blood going everywhere. I'm like, bro, like he's like, hold the line, and I'm like, you know, I got it pinched with my index finger, but I'm like looking at my finger to see if it's okay. But this thing just completely strips the line, just zoop, you know, and takes off like on nitrous, you know. So very similar, like just mean, aggressive. It come out of the water shaking its head like walking. Yours is getting netted, and mine's down there by yours doing this.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. It was like, I don't mess this up. Man. Like, if I mess this up, we're all, you know, like, oh, you know, Brandon and Chris could have caught steelhead. But I'm also like of
no
course this is
pressure.
expected. You know, I just have never experienced like a fish like that. That will, once it figures out it's hooked, it takes off 100 yards the other way.
Yeah.
And just strips
Sheesh.
your line. Like you're not even touching it.
Yeah.
Let him go? Or reel?
Dude, that's a big one too.
Oh. He's moving, but. My gosh! Do I need to turn my rod towards him with the net?
And then the tension becomes, well, I've got to get both of these fish in the net for Cody.
Yeah.
And I know now he's got some pressure on him to think. So as hard as it is to get them hooked and then to get them to a place of getting them in the net, now I got to get two of them in the net.
Yeah.
He's a strong ass fish. Damn. He's yeah, but he. I mean, I'm trying. Do I let him take it? Let's go!
Yes!
All right!
Yes! Bro!
We've got two steelhead in the net, and we're all freaking out. And I just think it's so cool. I wonder how often that happens, you know? And so I turned to one of the guys and said, bro, this is cool. Like, how often does this happen?
Because, dude, this is the first time this season with all the clients that we've taken out that anybody has doubled up on steelhead. Like, these fish are hard to catch.
Fired up. Hell yeah. All right.
Both look up at me real quick. That'll at least be a kick.
Yeah, okay. And they're gonna kick off?
Yep. Just keep holding them in the water until they're ready to go. So give them a couple measures too. Move them back and forth in the water.
Beautiful.
Good work, guys.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Yes. Oh, I can't feel my hand anymore. Dude, man, that's awesome. Thank y'all. That's great. It's a great work. Doubling up on steelhead. That's worth the trip, man.
And then for me, it just kind of sunk in of, well, of course it would happen to me and Chris. You know, like I just think about our story and all the things that we've done together, whether it's going to school together, being friends in school, our faith journey and just how interconnected that's been. I mean, literally being discipled together. And it was like, oh yeah, of course me and Chris would double up on, and not just double up on steelhead, but my first steelhead and your first steelhead. That was just an incredibly special moment.
Yeah, kind of similar to you. You know, I had turned to one of the guides and he's like, dude, this is a special thing.
Yeah.
And I want y'all to know that.
I think that's one of the moments where it really sunk in for me that this is just a total gift from God.
That's gonna happen. There we go.
Yes! Let's go!
Heck yeah, man.
That something like this would happen, that we would show up and double up on these fish. And that, I mean, that one moment made flying 4,400 miles worth it, you know? I mean, I would do it again 100 times over to experience something like that.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about the dark side of masculinity could be, you know, just as a waste of time because it doesn't pad my bank account and just making me feel like I got to go do more to be validated.
Mm-hmm.
But I think being able to be in a posture of just participating in something where I am receiving and just being, like, most people look at that and like, that's crazy, that feels unsafe, I shouldn't do that. And it's like, you know what? Like, the reason why I should do that is because it is more productive for me to figure out who I am and receive more of who God's called me to be. Doing things in community, that's what real wealth is. Just even taking the chance to go fly fishing. Like, I feel like as close as I am to you, if I would have never taken the chance to even fly fish with you, I feel like I'm missing out on a part of who you are and who God's called you to be. I have experienced so much more of God's generosity and his heart towards me and going on a trip like this. And it's like, if I didn't go to Alaska and if I didn't even take the chance to go freaking fly fishing, right? If I wasn't doing that, where I would be tempted to replace it with, you know, striving and toiling, and where I'd be tempted to replace it with escapism or escape hatches, you know, like doom scrolling or whatever you want to name it. Like, just how God has filled my cup in that way. And it's counterintuitive. It's like, dude, you think participating in something like that, that's not striving and toiling, is gonna help me as a man? And it's like, absolutely. Then if I X number more dollars, or if I were to, you know, do something more typical to what a man should be doing.
Well, I think a lot of times when we think about the cost of adventure, I've watched a lot of films about somebody going to Alaska or Belize or wherever and thought, and there's no way that I could do something like that. It's like there's just no way that I could quite get there on my own. And I was talking to Catherine about it, and she said, Brandon, there's a fishing rod in the closet. Just go fishing. Just try it. Just go fishing in the creek close to our house and just see what it's like. And maybe you don't like fishing that way, but just try it and maybe you do. And I did. And that's really what put me on the trajectory of just seeing the value of getting outdoors and experiencing adventure. And a lot of guys feel like there's this huge cost to be able to do it. And I think what I would want to say to those guys is like, yeah, there's a big cost to go to Alaska, but I guarantee you there's some water close to your house that you can go wade around with a spinning rod or an inexpensive fly rod or whatever you have, and just get out there and explore and experience nature. And it doesn't have to be this crazy thing, you know, it can be just something really simple. And I think if there's anything that I could communicate, it would be that what made Alaska the most special for me was the people that I went to Alaska with. And as cool as that place is, man, I would pick a life that's characterized by community and connection above any adventure that I could imagine.
Anything that you can do with people from a place of deep friendship makes it worth it. I think I've been most impacted by just the connection. I mean, I feel like one of the crises of masculinity is the absence of deep friendship. And I feel like it's something that doesn't get a lot of airtime, but I feel like it's a life raft. I know it has saved me from multiple heartaches, and I think it's saving me even currently.
That's actually what all this is about. Not inches and pounds, not putting some specific fish in the net. It's going on those adventures and experiencing those things in the context of people that I just love deeply. You know?
Yeah. It didn't start from a place of, hey, you're gonna get to go to a great place and do some cool fishing, bro. You know, like, it started a few miles from the house. And it started around a table sharing about how you've been impacted by fishing a few miles from your house.
It's that conversation of relief versus restoration. Mm-hmm. Like there's this list of things that give me relief, and there's this list of things that give me restoration. And the things that give me relief are often a lot easier to get, but not nearly as valuable, and they don't do anything to actually restore my soul. Whereas the things that are actually restorative, they usually take some work and take some discipline, but they actually give me some energy for the rest of my life.
I think the fact that you're uncovering this desire for adventure, I think that's where you're just onto something. I think that helps us just become more alive.
You can grow up, make new ones, but the truth is that we grow up then wish we could go back then. There's nothing like old friends. 'Cause you can't make old friends.
Yeah!